Greetings and welcome to the 128th session of the Online Optom Learning Series or OOLS. And for today's session, we have with us Dr. Abhishek Mandal. Dr. Abhishek is the founder and the CEO of a global knowledge sharing platform. Unlike OOLS, he heads the Vision Science Academy, and he also is involved as a startup artificial intelligence company, which is known as the Ocular Interface, and both of them are currently based in London, UK. Dr. Abhishek has obtained 3 postgraduate degrees in optometry and vision sciences. He completed his bachelor's in optometry and vision science from the University of Technology in Kolkata. Then he went ahead to pursue his master's in optometry from the Bharatiya Vidyapeeth University in Pune. Following his first master's degree, he was appointed as a senior lecturer at the KMM Optometry and Eye Institute in Uttarakhand. And because of his passion in research, this led him to complete his second master's degree and a PhD as well from the Glasgow Caledonian University. His project was on investigation of neural suppression mechanism during eye movement using various psychophysical methods. During his time in his PhD years, he was also elected as the postgraduate student leader at the Glasgow Caledonian University, where he predominantly worked in improving the postgraduate research facilities, representing the postgraduate students at the university and also at the national level. He was also appointed as the ambassador for the Glasgow Caledonian University during the Commonwealth Games in 2014. And for the past 10 years, Dr. Abhishek has built professional experience in patient services, research, as well as higher education. He has explored a lot of student opportunities to his responses, collaborated with a lot of companies in terms of research and in terms of improving patients' care. He has a record of commitment of conducting and also publishing and presenting at various national and international conferences. And there's where I know Dr. Abhishek, we met in Singapore in 2011 at the Asia Pacific Optometric Congress, right?
Yeah.
And he has also been associated with prestigious institutions like the Harvard Medical School. And there are a lot to name there. The list can go on. His experience, says it all. And today, Dr. Abhishek is, going to talk to us about, I think that's his pet topic, artificial intelligence and machine learning. How can this change eye care? So welcome, Dr. Mandal, onto our platform. And let me just leave the screen time to you.
So thank you very much, Fakhruddin, for such a generous introduction. And also thanks for inviting. And I would also like to thank the OOLS team, who is doing such a great job over the last 1 year. And I'm really pleased to see how things have been progressing with OOLS. And obviously, thanks to everyone who is currently attending the session today. I really appreciate your time. So today I'll be talking on I'll be talking on how machine learning and artificial intelligence are changing eye care. So I'll be talking on how machine learning and artificial intelligence are changing eye care. Obviously, there are some very big terminologies here, machine learning, artificial intelligence, where I want to see first that how many of people are currently aware of the machine learning systems.
About 3/4, 75% says that they are aware about artificial intelligence. That's good. And 25% are probably unaware of that.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to see that many of the today's attendees are currently aware of what artificial intelligence is. And obviously, this is our terminology going on for some time now with many advancements in technology. But can I also check, like, if if you are aware of how this artificial intelligence can prove beneficial in the coming months and years.
Okay, so I guess majority of them, 95% of them say yes, they believe that artificial intelligence has the potential, whereas a couple of them maybe are unsure or maybe they do not believe that. Yeah.
Well, that's absolutely fine. It's good to have at least some odds there. But in the start, like we already discussed about how many people are currently aware of this artificial intelligence thing. Now we have seen that 25% of people are not currently aware. So not to worry about if you are not aware of it, but we will go through it and discuss as much as in detail as possible. So, right. So machine learning and artificial intelligence are proving to revolutionize industries around the world. As we can see that what has happened with the aerospace, with the automotive, with self-driving autopilot systems, artificial intelligence are proving really to show some very strategic improvements in the current day and age. And already scientists predict that the AI systems and machine learning have a large presence within the healthcare space. Well, it says that will have, which is a future tense, but we can already see currently we have started seeing that there is a huge potential of artificial intelligence in the healthcare space. But what does it really mean for today's session? Now, what I will be covering today is I'll give a brief introduction to artificial intelligence and machine learning. I'll talk on how humans and machines not fight but work together, how Eyecare industry is currently present at this scenario, and in 2030, which is one decade from now, how things will change and what will be the landmarks of these changes. I'll be going into a bit more detail on, it will be more technical on vision-based human-computer interaction and also the robot-assisted eye examination system. Now, this might be all very new to many people, but I think we should start preparing ourselves with this type of terminologies. And also, it will be good that if we get some idea in this session and maybe implement going ahead in the coming days and months and years. Right. So in terms of 2030 reaching new landmarks in vision science or in general in eye care, obviously advanced technology is one of the important factors. So we see that there are many devices coming up like OCTs. There are several retinal scans that are being developing, which can already predict what could be the potential diseases. Now, there will be changes in patient care. Obviously, as we can see, the pandemic has hit very hard on us, and which has already kept us away from the clinics. And this pandemic is not only just because of the pandemic, but because of the evolution of technology. We can see that the patient care was already changing with hybrid practice. Now with this pandemic, we can see there is an escalation of this change in the hybrid practice. Now, changes in the education system, as many of us already are experiencing this, that universities are currently closed in major countries. Even in today's session, we are meeting virtually. So obviously the virtual education system is going to boom, and artificial intelligence is again going to play a very integral part in this type of technological advancement situations. Now coming to machine learning and artificial intelligence. Now what is machine learning and what is artificial intelligence? Let me clear a little bit of what machine learning and artificial intelligence is. Now, surprisingly, they both are same. They don't have much difference on it. Like machine learning and artificial intelligence is the same thing. There are two different brands, like you can call it, as machine learning, artificial intelligence, very fancy sounding brands, but on the very core of it, it is same. Now, how it is same? So let me give you an example. So we as humans have intelligence, right? So we have intelligence in performing tasks. Now, how do we get that intelligence? It doesn't happen overnight. So when we are born, we were being sent to school, we experience from meeting friends, making friends, and then we also get experience from college and also work experience. All these experiences actually combine together and build an intelligence within our human system. Now, The machines can't have this type of intelligence because they don't have senses. Now we have to train the machine to do tasks, certain tasks like drive a car or to fly an aeroplane, right? So how is this done? So the machine learning, like I said, is nothing but training the machine with programming languages, with computer programming languages, training the machine to do certain tasks with the help of algorithms, neural networks, and then make them intelligent so that they can perform a task. So this is a very layman example that I can give at the moment. Now, what it does, as we can see in the picture, a robot fixing the chair, right? So what is doing here is the robots are fixing the chair, but they are not trained to do that until they are being trained. So what I mean to say here is you have to train the robot to do it. For a human, so we learn these things. We learn the process of how to build a chair or how to fix a chair. Similarly, like you, many people who are currently a student, or we already passed our student era where we've been taught to become an optometrist or ophthalmologist. So we were being trained there, and then only we can go in the clinic and perform. Similarly, this robotic system, they are being trained through machine learning and then develop the intelligence to fix a chair, and then only they can perform that, right? Now, how accurate it can be? Now, it is a big question how accurate it can be. Obviously, depending on the number of information, the more data you give, the higher the accuracy level will be. So what that accuracy level will also give is also become time efficient. Now, to fix a chair, a human can take longer time because we are humans, right? So we have feelings, we have got other things, emotions going on. So it might take some time for us to perform that task. But for a robot, they don't have all these things to deal with, right? So they can just, you give them the task, they know, they are pre-programmed, they know what to do, and they'll just go and do that. Now, the purpose of machine learning is to improve the work efficiency, like I said, and maximize the medical opportunities in the modern fast-paced life. The reason why I say medical opportunities, because today we will be talking in the medical field. So let's not go much into how to fix a chair. Now, the current scenario, obviously, we have seen that there are several automations in eye care practice, which is in form of human eye computer interface with artificial intelligence system. Let's take the picture as a Tobii Pro eye tracking system. Also, we know that there has been evolution with the Google smart lenses or the smart spectacles, which can actually not only track your ocular behavior, but it can also give virtual reality transformation, and it can also track the behavior, your mental behavior, not just your ocular behavior. And also it can, the cameras can also track your eyes and also detect some of the initial pathologies that is in the anterior segment of the eye. Now, these are all available both in wearable and in non-wearable in form of sensors. So these are biosensors, which are currently in place in this type of devices. And for convenience, obviously, people prefer a non-wearable integrated system rather than a wearable, which is again a cosmetic issue. Where in terms of technology and advancement, obviously contact lens, smart contact lenses come into play, where you fit the contact lenses and it tracks everything, what's going on inside the eye. But is this easy? It is not. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of integration. And this integration needs to be pre-programmed with a huge lot of data, and then only we can actually go ahead and achieve certain results that we are deemed to achieve, because we are dealing with very sensitive organ in human body, which is our eyes. So we have to deal with very sensitively, and also a lot of data is needed to get 100% accuracy. Now, with the help of this deep learning algorithms, changes in the eye's morphology is already been detected, like late detection of diseases like retinopathy and age-related macular degeneration. We already know this with the smart glasses. We can, at some extent, we can do this. But to continuous data collected from using this technology, so while people are more using the smart glasses or these biosensors, we get more information, and this information is also helping us not only to predict the current patient's pathological condition, but at the same time, it will also help in enhancing the AI performance in the coming days and years. Now here we can see a scan, a retinal scan, where we can see there's three different layers which are being scanned. So this is through an artificial intelligence system. There is a research going on currently in the University College London in Moorfields Eye Hospital in collaboration. So it is being expected that most of the pathological changes in the lens and retina will be automatically diagnosed with AI. Now, what does this mean is obviously wearing this type of glasses or biosensors, what it will do is it will actually track the blood flow, what's going on, and also it will check each and every layer, the blood vessels, over the period of time, and it will give you results saying that, okay, in the next 2 to 3 years, you are prone to develop ARMD or any other form of ocular disorder. It can be a cataract, it can be any vascular abnormalities, or it can be retinal detachment. Now, how does the system know? How does artificial intelligence detect this? So this is a big question because the machines don't know what is intraretinal cystic fluid, let's say, or a CRVO or a BRVO. They don't know. So what we need to do is we need to produce huge amount of data of images, which is called as computer vision image processing system, where we train the computer with images of, let's say, intraretinal cystic fluid or branch retinal vein occlusion, saying that, okay, this is 1,000 images, or this is, let's say, 2,000 images of this particular disease. So if you detect some of these structures or these abnormalities in the scan that when the patient is coming, then instead of going to an ophthalmologist to interpret that, the system can automatically interpret it, and it can obviously give you the result instantly. Now, at the moment, we have to go to a clinic. We need to go to an optometrist or an ophthalmologist to get this detected. But in the coming days, with the rendering technology, what is happening is we can actually use this technology in our mobile phones. So I'll come to the next slide. So it can be integrated and interfaced with a mobile phone. You can see a tube-like structure which you place in front of your eyes, and it will automatically scan your eye and the pathological changes and give you the report straight on your phone. As we already know with the biosensors that we wear, the wearable watches where we can track our health and fitness. So similarly, with this type of devices, integrated facilities, we can establish a certain level. Obviously, we can't go and say that, okay, you have developed CRVO, but you can at least do the preliminary examination and get the record. And this app, which has already a huge lot of data, which can actually predict this, will tell you need to go and see an ophthalmologist or an optometrist for your eye examination, based on which country you are and how you deal with these diseases. Because in many countries, it's been dealt by optometrists. In some countries, these pathological conditions have been dealt by ophthalmologists. Now, such an approach will also assist in filtering out patients at various stages of this disease beforehand, thereby averting to serious visual complications. Now, many times what is happening is that we need to book an appointment. It takes time, it costs money, and people are reluctant to do all this, take all this haphazard that's involved in going into a clinical diagnosis procedure. Obviously, you're facing difficulties, but still you're reluctant. It's just because the time-consuming factor, the money involved in it, and also your worry in going and visiting a doctor. So what you can do is, with this new technology system which is coming up, which you can sit home, track your changes, and it will automatically tell you if you need to go and visit a retinal surgeon or a cataract surgeon, whatever based on your ocular condition is. So you don't have to go a GP or a general practitioner initially to say that, okay, I've got blurring of vision, and then the GP is referring you to an optometrist, and then you are being referred to an ophthalmologist. So you can actually skip all this bureaucracy by just having this downloaded in your phone, tracking it, and then it tells you where to go and which is the closest ophthalmologist available or the closest optometrist available in your area. So you skip all this queue and you straight away go to that. And you also, obviously, you save time, you save money, and it is very efficient as well in this busy busy days that we are experiencing. Now, there is another robot assistant eye technology that I wanted to talk about is millions of people around the world encounter visual impairment at some stage of their lifetime. So it is quite obvious that people will go through this kind of problems. Now, especially in the remote areas where an ophthalmologist or an optometrist is not easily available. Now, what you can do is you can use a portable system which can actually track your eyes in terms of detecting pathological changes, and then provide that information to the optometrist or an ophthalmologist, and they will read that interpretation, and then they will come back to you and tell that, okay, so you need to do a cataract surgery, let's say. And this is how you can take your clinic to the patient's house, and you can start assessing this with the help of an ophthalmologist sitting remotely, maybe thousands of miles away from another country. They can still detect it, and they can refer you to a closest medical practice or an ophthalmologist where you need to get this treatment done. Now, this issue is not only going to overcome this problem which is going on in the remote areas. As we know, I guess most of us belong from today's audiences from Southeast Asian countries, and we understand that what is when we call it as a remote location, how difficult it is to get medical practice there, and to send an ophthalmologist or an optometrist to go and do practice there, which is not very visible. So this type of devices can be run by a technician with the help of doctors. It can be, obviously, it can be tracked, and this issue can, however, be resolved. But how does this system work? Now, as you can see in the picture, a patient is sitting and talking to a doctor. This is called as telemedicine, as we already know. This telemedicine has been quite successful over the past few years. And what works here is in two different ways. So one is you are consulting with the ophthalmologist directly, and secondly, you are actually interacting with the technician with a server mode. And with the help of this technician, you're actually sending the data to the ophthalmologist, and the ophthalmologist will do a live video conferencing with you with the help of a robotic slit lamp, where the slit lamp can be maneuvered by the doctor itself, sitting remotely with the help of different sensors that is currently being developed in this practice. Now, what you need for this is an internet connection, which will obviously enable the clinician to be able to communicate, and also to detect the layers of the patient's eye in a real time. So you don't have to send like images after collecting later on. So the doctor can actually view these images in real time, like as we do in clinical practice in clinics. Now, how does this system work? Like I said, that there are two phases here. So one is the experienced ophthalmologist we serve as a client, and the other one is the server, which is a technician and a patient, which is present in the remote area, right? So one is the client mode, and the other one is the server mode. Now, several research has been going on how to implement this, and so far, like what I have talked about, is has limited results. Like I said, data has been collected. We have got limited results due to several factors in evaluating the exact role of this slit lamp examination, because it's not easy to maneuver sitting somewhere else. Because even when we do a real life practice, we also see that sometimes it's quite difficult to move a slit lamp and to get in the right angle to see the right position where we are actually trying to detect. Now, it has been estimated so far, on whatever limited results we have, it has been estimated that in this type of examination of anterior chamber abnormalities, it poses a sensitivity of more than 40%, which is very close to half of the percentage, which is obviously showing some promising result, and the specificity is 90%, which is again something very promising. So obviously this type of facility can also be run during such pandemics, where your eye care practice won't be affected by any means of whatever a third world war happening, or a pandemic epidemic happening, or whatever natural disasters happening. Still, you can actually get access to your doctors with the help of such technological advancements. Now, the takeaways that I want to talk about here, which is very important. So as we know that there are many Hollywood films showing the future predicted by the science fiction films around the world, it's unlikely that we will see an AI optometrist or an ophthalmologist anytime soon. So we won't see any ophthalmologist or an optometrist in a form of robot, because it is quite tricky to do that. A robot coming and making you wear a trial film, it will look quite odd, and you might be scared as well. So it is not something that we will be experiencing anytime soon, and it is not something that we are targeting to experience. So what we are doing here is to work together in combination of artificial intelligence systems and a real life practitioner. So what it will do is it will assist in the ophthalmological practice by helping, like I already discussed about this before, in terms of filtering you out to which surgeon to go, rather than having to go to a general practitioner and being referred. So it will be time efficient. It will reduce your time. It will also be directing you to the right person who will be actually looking after your problem, your ocular abnormalities that you may have. And also, like the other research that I showed before, that has been conducted in London, which is obviously showing that you can predict ARMD 3 years before you actually develop ARMD. So that will help us in producing medications quite early stage, and will also help us in being prepared, like the disaster that we are currently facing with the vaccination of COVID-19. With such an unprecedented event, we were not prepared. So a epidemic can also be in an ocular situation as well. Like the myopia is now being called as an epidemic. Now, how to treat this problems? So obviously, if you can detect this at a very early stage, like 3 years earlier, with medications or spectacles that is currently needed, then we can be better prepared with this, and we can have better facilities. So we can, once these things are happening, then in certain countries, obviously certain countries are more prone than others. So we are already prepared, and we can provide the services as required. So within the eye care space, the AI technology is being used to screen conditions like diabetic retinopathy and many more, like I talked about before. And this is like very preliminary data that we have collected so far. But however, this data the more data is collected, the more helpful it will be in terms of developing brighter technologies that can even detect certain things that is not being detected by the human eye. So the artificial intelligence can infiltrate all those retinal vessels into very insightful details that can be captured through artificial intelligence systems. And we can even come up with a new type of ocular disease that we have never learned before. So that is why the data is important. The more data we collect, the more analysis we can do. We can structure the data and even come out with a better diagnosis, and also be prepared for the medication that might be required for those type of patients. Now, these systems can help with primitive screening processes, like I discussed before. So you don't have to actually go to a doctor, or you call it as an ophthalmologist or optometrist, to get your eye test done. So you can do preliminary testing. So even if you are having a blurring of vision, if you wear a smart spectacle, the smart spectacle actually can do a refraction for you. You don't have to go to an optometrist to run an auto refractometer on you, but rather you can just use a spectacle, a smart spectacle like a smartphone. Wearing this spectacle, you can actually identify what your visual acuity is. And based on that, if you're having a poor visual acuity, obviously you go to an optometrist and get your eyes checked thoroughly. and obviously get any treatments that is needed. So this type of assistive technology will also help in getting into a better situation, considering the current technological advancement and the busy schedule that we are currently going in. So artificial intelligence is not a substitute for a trained medical profession, like I said. So it is not something that we are expecting anytime soon, but it can help to simplify many works, like I discussed. As it stands currently, these AI systems will be used to support the eye care field by taking over some of the basic work. So probably there won't be any technicians required, but what will it do is these technicians can be placed in remote areas where they can collect data, and then they can send this data. So the technicians can help in collecting the data and then sending it to an optometrist or data scientist who are actually involved in distributing this data into the system and give a better predictive value of what diseases can happen. So this is something that is exceptional in this field, which will be happening within the next 10 years. And coming to the technology, like obviously, like I said, we are not going to fight with the robots. When you give, humans are very egoistic. I mean, I might sound funny, but it is true that we are very egoistic. We don't want to believe there is aliens. We don't think that animals are smarter than us. And similarly, we don't want to think that robots are intelligent than us. It's quite obvious. I mean, there's nothing to worry about it. This is something we have in our, it is inbuilt actually. So what it will do is this robotic systems, what it will do is it will actually, we have to give them certain level of information so that they can help us and not overtake us. So we have to be very careful in this type of practices, because if robot starts doing the work by themselves, they can make mistakes, because there need to be human intervention in any type of medical practice. It is unlike self-driving cars, where you sit in the car, go from Los Angeles to New York in 10 hours doing your office work without having to worry if there is a traffic, if there is a road accident, if there is traffic. It will take you to the right route in the right way, in the safest way. Similarly, in this occasion, you are dealing with patients, right, who are vulnerable. So you can't rely on the machines completely. So there need to be human intervention. And therefore, what I'm concluding here is that artificial intelligence might be used to manage patient files, like I said, but tomorrow it might prove to be perfect assistant for optometrists and ophthalmologists while we are working, right? So in conclusion, it is still unclear that what we can expect from this type of technologies, but it seems like that AI will play a substantial role in the way that every field operates. Like I talked about automotive industry, aerospace industry, and going forward, you can expect to see more AI technologies being applied to the eye care space for the betterment of all. Now, I want to run a video. This is I'm working as a principal researcher in Ocular Interface, which is my startup company here in London. And I want to show this video of what can be done with the data and how artificial intelligence can help in transforming the eye care system. Obviously, you can visit the website. You will get to see the website at the end of this video. It's a very short video, 1 minute video, and I hope it will give you some insights on artificial intelligence in eye care.
Many efforts have been done to interface the human eye with the machines in a seamless way, and much progress has been made in this field. Innovations like eye tracking were present as early as the 1980s, and now even more practical and advanced technologies are being integrated into this development. The introduction of smartphones and portable devices have rendered the use of this interface technology even more successful, and tremendous data is collected each day, which guarantees even further innovations in the future. Ocular Interface, based in London, England, is a research and experimental development organization working on developing technological advancements through artificial intelligence and machine learning systems to revolutionize the eye care industry. Our AI systems will be used to support the eye care field by taking over some of the basic work to help ensure that eye care professionals can focus on providing exceptional care. To learn more, visit our website, ocularinterface.com.
So if you want to learn more on the progress of artificial intelligence and the research, obviously you can visit the website. There will be data available. Currently, the website is under development, so that's a disclaimer, but still there is data available. You can go and visit there, and you can get updates on what are the newer technologies and the research that we are doing in ocular interface in terms of artificial intelligence and machine learning. So these are some of my references that I have used for the data in terms of preparing this presentation. And I would like to thank you everyone for being patient and being listening to me. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. So thank you very much, Dr. Abhishek, for that, very comprehensive talk and taking us through, what is machine learning and what is artificial intelligence. I think this is really something which, as you said, in 2030, it will be very different than what we are looking at now. And it's going to evolve, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Right. Just one question which pops up to my mind very at this point of time is, what's your experience? You have been into this field for probably, I would say, about 5 years, more than 5 years, of course, you have been into this. And do you think within the past year or so, the development in getting the data has been tremendously high? Do you think that 1 year of COVID time has boosted up the data what you receive? And I do understand that you mentioned that as much as data you want, it will help to develop the platform anyway. So do you think that has helped?
Yeah, well, in terms of data collection, it has been quite a tricky year, 2020 and 2021, because you can't get data in terms of research, because in the UK, it is restricted to do any type of non-essential research. So obviously the data collection in terms of real life patient activity was not possible. But in terms of digital data collection and digital data analysis, we have progressed quite a lot. So in terms of having the existing data, analyzing them, and then setting some predictive analysis through MATLAB programmings, developing new custom codings in MATLAB and Python, obviously that has enhanced our experience in terms of the predictive values of what's going to happen in the next decade. But in terms of real life data collection, it has been an obstacle with the pandemic in place. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree to that because of non-availability of going into the clinics that might have this thing. But I think at the back end, when you are developing the algorithm, as you said, it probably has proven better, right? So you got some time to sit down and think of the algorithms and doing the MATLAB, as you were saying, probably helped there.
Yeah, exactly. So obviously when you sit back, when you can't go and do data collection in real life, obviously you have to do something. And what we did is we sat back, we have analyzed the collected data, built on some new algorithms that can help us, even in the pandemic situation, it can help us in getting data through remote mode, like I discussed about the slit lamp technique, which is the server control and the client control. So coming up with this new concepts, it helped us in reflecting back and not going into active or progressive data collection, rather than sitting back and thinking about all these things, what are the possibilities. So yeah, obviously, and I think it has actually give us some light into what we can do in the coming days, rather than just collecting the data. So I'm very optimistic, and obviously it has helped us quite a lot.
Right. Okay. We do have some questions which have come in, and this is the first one. if and when this technology will be commonly available, will it be too expensive to help in certain regions? And any ideas on how can we go about that financial constraints, if I may put it that way?
Yeah, so it's a very good question by Keur. I mean, I totally agree on what's the concept behind asking this question, because obviously with technology it is not going to be cheap, because there's a huge amount of money invested in doing this research, and also there is a huge amount of effort that is needed. Obviously, to come up with a product, it has to come up with a certain amount of cost that is needed to be extracted. It's not just like selling products, but it's mostly to get that out in the public so that people can use it and benefit from it. So obviously, to answer your question is when this technology will be commonly available. Technology is still available currently, but the advancement of the technology is not to that level, because there is still need of more data and more research to progress into the next steps. But as I showed earlier in the pictures and some of my slides, saying that the eye tracking systems, how it can predict some of your anterior segment anomalies. So it is already in place, but it is progressing slowly, as it's a very niche area. It's progressing slowly, and it will progress gradually. And I would say that as long as it progresses steadily and I think that is what is very, very important. In terms of your next question, it will be too expensive. I think I have answered this in general, but in terms of particular regions, obviously, when I'm talking about remote locations, they might not be able to afford this. So what can be done? The solution to this is to have charities in place. Now, these charities, what they can do is they can buy these services, and then they can operate this in remote locations where less privileged people are present, that they don't have to buy these assistive devices. Rather than these devices can be carried out remotely, like I said, like taking to people's home and getting this test done with proper maintenance of hygiene. So no one has to buy it, but I think it can be operated in multiple patients like this way, and I think that's how we can tackle this.
That's right. Yeah, and I think a lot of non-governmental organizations do that. They offer that helps, like Rotary clubs and all that. Maybe those can, but yeah, the more it advances, and I think that's a common law. The more it advances, the cheaper it gets as well. So maybe now it's expensive, and when people start using it at a wider scale, the production might go up, the demand might go up, and the cost might reduce, if I may put it in that basic sense. Hopefully that's the future.
Absolutely, yeah, that's true. So initially it will be expensive, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And this is again I think a very common question which people ask, that when AI comes into place, it tends to do a lot of work, and then we as human beings will kind of feel lazy, because there's no need of study. AI is gonna do that. So, what would you like to advise or comment on this particular aspect?
Well, we won't be lazy. Humans are not meant to be lazy. If you want to, it's a choice. Anil, this is not directly to you, but in general, I'm talking that being lazy is a choice. It's not it's not a forced thing. So what we can do, and what I actually recommend optometrists in the current day and age, is who are actually studying, or even who are currently into practice, to learn this new technology, to learn programming languages, so that you can actually control this system. Because even with the self-driving car, we will be lazy, isn't it? Or maybe traveling in an automated vehicle, you don't have to drive, you become lazy. But it's not about becoming lazy, how you can use this technology for your own good. So what I would think is this type of technological courses should be incorporated within the Bachelor of Optometry or a Masters of Optometry course, because this is something coming up in the future. And if this has been made aware to many of our students or professionals, then they will start thinking of how they can implement themselves start learning new algorithms and trying to operate a customized remote clinic by themselves. So obviously you have to study optometry, you have to know the fundamentals, you have to know the principles of certain instruments and your ocular structure. But at the same time, you should also be aware of the technology and how it can be used in the coming years and be prepared for that. Yeah.
That's right. And I like your point that being lazy is a choice, not something which should happen. It's up to you. And I think the most important point here is use the technology to the maximum benefit to you and your patient. So if we think in that way, I think we'll be less lazy indirectly. So if we think that this technology, I want to use it for my benefit of my patient and how can I use it best, you will put your thoughts together, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the other point that I wanted to mention here is, well, in terms of laziness, obviously this is something that needs to be explored. So there is one point that I always try to highlight is, if everyone is eating a fruit, so who will plant the trees? So we need to have people who will plant trees so that the trees grow and then people can eat the fruit, enjoy the fruit. So it is very important in that sense that we need to start think of innovation rather than just going into conventional practice. So this is very important.
That's right. That's it. And two questions revolved around this, that particularly AI and machine intelligence ideally are used for retinal diseases and detecting retinal pathologies, like as you mentioned, ARMD and diabetic retinopathy, for example. Any tips on how you foresee these kind of applications of artificial intelligence in real optometry practices? So anything which is happening around in your arena, or anything which you are aware of, which you would like to highlight?
Well, I think it's a very good point. I mean, it's a very important point as well, because many of this AI concept is being currently utilized in detecting retinal diseases. It's very true, and I totally agree with this point. At the same time, I think we have to start, there should be a starting point. And I think this is the easiest starting point to get into retinal diseases. And it's also something which needs to be considered very important, because that can actually damage the vision, right? Obviously, if it's not being taken care of. So that's why what I feel is, in optometric practices, like I mentioned in my slides, that how slit lamp can be used in terms of evaluating the anterior segment, which optometrists are responsible for. And also with this new type of glasses where you can measure visual acuity and send this data, so patients can measure their visual acuity and send the data to an optometrist, and then the optometrist can perform with this technology. The optometrist can actually perform a refraction through an auto refractor mode, not with a bigger machine, but with the glasses itself, which can help in doing this refraction, and then they can prescribe glasses to this patient. So obviously the starting point is to detect the retinal diseases, because it's very important to detect it, and optometric screening can be done over the period of time. In one of my recent articles, I have written some of the potential options for diabetes. Like, obviously the diabetes screening is very important in terms of an optometrist or an ophthalmologist. So how these biosensors can help in detect diabetes, basically. So there are certain sensors that can be used to actually extract the oxidase in the tear layer, and which can actually give you the blood, track the blood glucose level and tell you if you are prone to develop diabetes. So with the spectacles, which is again coming from an optical point of view, with the help of spectacles, you can do this pre-screenings of diabetes or any other form of systemic diseases. Yeah.
That's right. Okay. And if I may put in something here, I think there are certain softwares now, they can actually grade. I don't know whether it comes under artificial intelligence, but there are certain softwares where you incorporate, for example, the ocular adnexia picture onto that particular software. They will grade for you whether it's grade 1 of a redness or grade 1.5 or grade 2. So I think things are happening, and we just need to explore on what's currently the situation, right?
Yeah, exactly, Fakhruddin. What you said is this is something also I mentioned is computer vision. So computer vision is where you load numerous data of, let's say, intraretinal cystic fluid or the branch retinal disorders or the central retinal. So these things, the more picture you actually incorporate in these systems, they are automatically be able to detect with higher accuracy that what this condition is. So this is called as image processing or the computer vision system, where you actually train the machine to be able to perform this intellectual ability to detect between different diseases, which is which part of your retina is being majorly affected. Actually.
That's right. Okay. A couple of more questions. You were talking about the smart spectacle technology. Any idea? Is it available? If you have any idea in Indian part, I mean, do you know? Are you aware? Is it available in India, or do you think it's just limited to some continents at this point of time due to research? And anything you would like to share?
Yeah, great question, Sundaram. And to be honest with you, I'm not too sure if it is available in India because I'm living in UK for a long period of time, and I'm not too sure if it is available in India currently. I should be. Maybe I should look into it. But obviously, in Western countries, these are available as long as you can afford it. So the price is very, very high. And if you can afford, and if it actually serves your purpose of why you're purchasing it, and if it serves your purpose, if it is worth for money, obviously it will be valuable. But I don't think at this point in stage where research and development is going on to make it available in any countries, because the technology is still in a very preliminary stage, and it needs more and more research to even come up with a wider interpretation of these technological advancements.
Right. And I think this is again a connecting question to what we were talking about. So we say that the technology is still under research stage and all that. Any tips or guidelines, if you would like to, share on how can optometry community, play a role in getting involved in these kind of projects? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, again, excellent question, Jayashree. So obviously, optometry community to offer a startup and projects involving AI needs funding to do this. And as per the data in the last 2 years, and specifically in the last year after the pandemic has hit, there has been a huge investment coming for AI projects, because obviously there is a demand in market, and that's why many people are investing in this type of projects. And as an optometry community, obviously to start any business or to do any startups, you need a huge amount of capital investment. Now, to have this capital investment, I think it is mainly important you come up with an idea of, like, let's say I'm going to first, you can't generalize it saying that I'm going to do in optometry. Rather, I would track it in a way saying that I want to control diabetes, or let's say I want to or monitor diabetes, or I want to particularly look into the diabetic retinopathy or any retinal disease, and start from there, and then move on to developing a concrete business plan, get fundings from charitable organizations, and then start up. So it's not an easy thing to do in terms of starting up this very niche area, because because this area is still very much unexplored. But I think the more research we do and the more we volunteer in terms of getting this data, associate people from all over the world, I think that is more important in generating these funds and also coming up with better ideas, because one mind can only explore to a certain limit, but when we have different minds, it actually helps us in exploring more. So collaboration is very important.
That's right. And I think one last question before we can wrap up things connects again to the data, what we were mentioning, that, collecting data, and that data would help to, ideally get into the stage where it will be available for people. But what happens that the data what is being collected into the system is from the developed countries. So how could we actually utilize that, or will there be any problem? And if not, if there is any problem, how could probably this problem be solved?
Well, in terms of research, it is always very important to consider all ethnic groups. So it is not only ethnic groups, but also there are several factors of a personal, like the genetical factor is also very important. The environmental factor is important. So there are many things. So obviously, we need to have a starting point. Some of the preliminary data is collected in the Western world is just because there is more funding available, but it doesn't mean that there won't be funding to collect data in developing countries. So what I would say here is we need some baseline information, baseline data, to take it away to other countries rather than sitting and exploring in one country. So obviously data is important, data of different ethnic groups important, race is very important as well. So once we combine all this data, and then when we are performing this test on a particular region, let's say you're doing OCT in India or you're doing OCT in the UK, there is a difference of interpretation of the data because it comes with the ethnic differences as well. So it is very important to collect data from all over the world, but it needs to be specified based on where the clinical investigation is going on, and it will be confined to that. So it's a very, very good question, and I think it's a part of research and development to be able to collect data from all over the world rather than collecting only from one country or one continent, which will give only saturated amount of data for that particular region. So really, thank you, Keo, for this question.
All right, great. So thank you, Dr. Mandal, for that wonderful talk and taking us through what is AI and machine learning, and answering and giving your thoughts as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thanks.
Great. Most welcome. We do have session planned next weekend. So I hope and I wish to see you all next week. Take care, everyone. Be safe and see you all next week. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dr. Abhishek.